What about it? Last night, Reece Walsh found guilty of ref abuse. He has got 3 weeks suspension, so he'll be on the sidelines. He'll miss Origin 3 Now Hoops. We crossed to you live last night. You said it wasn't looking good for him. It took 4 hours for this to take place. Talk us through it.
Well, Braith, a lot of judiciary cases can be a case of wake me up when it's over. That's not to diminish from whatever the allegations and the charges are, but at times it gets quite technical and it can get quite boring and bogged down in legal argument. Last night, a dead set could have been an episode of Seinfeld. It was so highly entertaining. Now, that's not making light of the seriousness of the allegation and what Reece Walsh was ultimately found guilty of, which was directing a foul-mouthed tirade at referee Chris Butler. But because of the language that was used, that particular phrase, "What do you mean?" and obviously some other colourful adjectives around it, it meant that over the course of the evening, those particular expletives were used repeatedly. Then you had Pat Carrigan giving evidence, you had David Fafita giving evidence. That then emerged in cross-examination from the NRL that Reece Walsh, Pat Carrigan and David Fafita had all got together and had a coffee, and as the NRL put it, to get their stories straight.
Is that what they come to the conclusion, that the players had discussed and tried to look after each other in this instance?
Well, it's a good question. The Judiciary Chairman, Jeff Bellew, actually instructed the panel members to not give that much credence to the evidence that the players had given, based on the fact that they are Queensland teammates and that they had admitted that they had got together and discussed the incident prior to having to appear at the Judiciary. Now, David Fafita then also did himself a mischief during...
Talk us through this, because David Fafita was a witness. He was in the opposition for the Titans.
Yeah.
But it ended up proving a little costly,
Well, it
maybe.
ended up being a stumbling block because David, in his evidence, was outlining and underlining how, in the heat of the battle there, that he had witnessed what had happened and heard what had happened. But where he tripped himself up was he said, Reece, I heard what Reece said to the referee. And so the NRL lawyers at that stage were just doing cartwheels, and you saw the Broncos people who were sitting in the Judiciary, their heads just bowed down a little bit. They realised that that was a little bit of a loose carry.
Did it look like he was going to get off there? Because I thought taking 4 hours, the longer it went, the better chance he had. Did it look like at any stage that he was going to get off the charge?
Well, Reece was certainly adamant that the spray was not directed at the referee. He was completely emphatic that he was actually speaking to his captain in Pat Carrigan. But where the NRL legal team did a good job was that they hammered him under cross-examination. They said, hang on, would you normally talk to one of your teammates with this kind of language? And like I say, it did make for quite entertaining scenes at times, even though it went for 4 hours and 5 minutes, bro.
Hoops, you said the NRL had a lot of evidence of prior... Walsh going up to the referee throughout the game. Did that end up being pretty strong?
It was crucial because...
Do you want to take a look? We'll have a look.
Beginning, yeah, let's have a look, right? So these are some of the prior examples of Reece Walsh just getting a little bit lippy with Chris Butler over the course of the 80 minutes in the lead up to the incident. Now, this was crucial because the case was due to begin at 6 p.m, right? Normally, at 5:59 the doors open and everybody's ushered in, and they always kick off exactly on time. But last night there was an indefinite delay, and the reason there was because the Broncos legal team and the NRL legal team and the NRL Judiciary Council were all arguing over whether this could be admitted or not. And another crucial piece of this was at half-time when the players are actually leaving the field. You can see Reece Walsh getting quite
Let's have a look at that.
vocal.
This was the big one, right? Hoops going off at half-time, Butler talking to Reynolds, the captain, about Walsh coming up to him throughout that first half. Is that right?
Absolutely, yeah. It was really pivotal, so we'll show it, and what it will illustrate is that as the players are walking from the field...
But I can't have Reece keep doing what he's doing, OK? It's 3 times that he's come out really passionate about decisions, OK? I'm not going to say I'm going to get them all right, but I can't do that. They're going to turn into penalties, all right? Thanks, mate.
So he's been warned. Like, he has given him very fair warning, Gordon. So, look, ultimately, it ended up being a split decision. The 2-member panel of Tony Puletua and Sean Hampstead, they couldn't agree.
Well,
so Jeff Bellew... Yes, that's right. And that's Jeff Bellew, the Judiciary Chairman. He had to use his casting vote.
So this means, to me, right, so what I'm looking at, any player that goes to the Judiciary now, they can look at all of his charges. because they're going back on what he's saying to the referee. Frustration is frustration, and if he didn't say it, I think that's a little bit unfair, showing that you're frustrated and going up to a referee. The referee should have sent him to the bin when he was frustrated, because he's got the power to go, hey, go. I reckon the referee doesn't know whether he called him that or not.
I get where you're coming from, Gordon, but I think the beef was that it wasn't an isolated incident, and it's not even an isolated incident in this particular game where the Titans upset the Broncos. The beef is that Reece Walsh, over the course of probably the last 6 to 10 weeks of the season, has been getting in these repeatedly heated scenarios with referees, right? And he's not the captain. Adam Reynolds is the captain of the Broncos. That's not Reece's place. He's a young bloke. He's 20 years old. He's playing at fullback. He doesn't need to be engaged in a running battle with every whistleblower every game.
All right, after being found guilty at the Judiciary, Walsh fronted the media at NRL HQ. Take a listen.
Obviously, pretty disappointed in the outcome, but I accept the decision of the panel, and obviously I know that I'm a role model to young kids and the community, and I'm going to continue to work hard and be better in those areas that I need to get better at, and
Yeah, listen, I think, I've said it the last few nights, that regardless of whether you thought he said it to the referee or not, this is a lesson learnt for him, and it's a stepping stone in a long, illustrious career that he's got ahead of him. And a lot of his ex-teammates or ex-legends of Queensland, Australia, all agree. Whether he was saying it to the referee or not, this is a big moment for him to move forward, learn his lesson, and if he does that, well, the kid's a superstar, and I'm sure he will. Now, he got 3 weeks. Was 3 weeks too severe? Did the punishment fit the crime?
I think they could have gone harsher. I think that he did say it directly to the referee, and I applaud the NRL for taking the stance that they have. If you go to Brandon Smith last year, he called the referee an expletive and a cheat. If you go back to Marcelo Montoya, I think he was involved in a homophobic slur. He got given 4 weeks also last season. So, look, I think the figures are round about right, but having watched all of the evidence last night, Braith, there was no doubt in my mind, and I think Reece essentially virtually admitted as much himself afterwards in that interview with the media. I think that he did direct it at the referee.
It's hard to benchmark it because we don't see it too often, but if we're comparing it to what Brandon Smith got for calling a referee a cheat, he got 3 games, and I think calling a referee a cheat is worse than what Reece Walsh got. I'm comfortable with the 3 weeks, but I think that's now the parameter going forward. Any indiscretions towards the referee, I think the NRL is going to come down heavily on, and so they should. Reece Walsh should have been binned instantly on Sunday.
Yes, so that's my point. You know what I mean? Like,
because you've been outspoken with this. So what's your not outspoken, but you've defended Reece.
So because referees sort of know, and I think when you're out there in the battle like then you get the picture of it, right? So the referee was in the perfect spot when he was there. I would have preferred the referee to take action, and then it would have been easier on the game. Doing this here, and if he would have said, no, you can't talk to me that way, I think that would have been a stronger case. So, like then, but I just hope Reece, because all the things that we just said, he's a great young player, but I hope everybody learns, because I had to learn the hard way. And even now sitting, that's probably some of the worst footage, and that's what you remembered for, getting sent off and arguing with referees. And his career is going to be a lot better than that.
If he learns the lessons out of this, Gordon, he's got far too much talent for this to be something that is brought up throughout the course of his career when he finishes. But he does need to learn it, and I noticed today that the Brisbane Power Brokers have given him a bit of a public bake.